Well, just like that, the first weekend of the college football season is officially in the books. The season is officially underway. Although 1 week isn't enough of a sample size to judge every team, it's more than what we had a week ago. Who knows how things are going to shape out the rest of the way, but we at least have an idea of which teams we may need to keep an eye on this year. Unfortunately, I don't have a vote for the AP poll, but if I did, here's how my top 25 would look after week 1. Before we get to today's rankings, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications if you're new to my channel. If you're watching this video, odds are you love college football, and odds are you aren't subscribed to my channel, so make sure to subscribe to one of the best college football communities here on YouTube. This one was really easy as Georgia stays at number 1. They took down number 14 Clemson 34-3, and outside of the first quarter really, this game was never close. Georgia still looks like one of the best teams in all of college football, and Clemson, yeah, I think it's going to be another rough year for them. Ohio State comes in at number 2, but this game was looking just a little bit interesting against Akron. They ended up winning by 46 points, but Ohio State had only a 4-point lead at the end of the first quarter and only a 14-point lead entering the half. But they outscored Akron 35-3 in the second half, and this game was well out of reach. Will Howard had an impressive Ohio State debut, and this looks like one of the more complete teams in all of college football. I knew Texas was going to win this game fairly easily, but I didn't think they would beat Colorado State 52-0. The offense looked as good as advertised, and the defense didn't allow anything for Colorado State all day. Making the jump up to number 4 is Notre Dame. They went into College Station and knocked off number 20 Texas A&M 23-13. Now overall, I wasn't too impressed with Notre Dame's offense because credit to A&M's defense, but Notre Dame's defense is legit. I mean, they suffocated Texas A&M all game, and I do think Notre Dame is going to have one of the best defenses in all of college football this year. Kalen DeBoer kicked off his Alabama career with a 63-0 win over Western Kentucky. This was going to be a pretty easy win for Alabama, but Western Kentucky, they're no slouch, so the fact that they won by 63 is quite impressive. Penn State went into Morgantown and defeated West Virginia 34-12. Now, when I was talking about my most anticipated games for week 1, I talked about this game as I thought West Virginia had a really strong chance of pulling off the upset. It's hard to really get excited about one game, but Drew Aller looked really good at quarterback, and we already know that Penn State has one of the best running back rooms in all of college football. We know that Penn State's defense is going to be one of the top defenses in all of college football, but if this offense can play the way they did on Saturday, Penn State is going to be a legitimate playoff threat. Ole Miss began their season with a bang as they took down Furman 76-0. Jackson Dart had quite the 2024 debut as he threw for over 400 yards with 5 passing touchdowns while adding a touchdown on the ground as well. Meanwhile, Trey Harris had quite the day through the air as he caught 8 passes for 180 yards with 2 receiving touchdowns. In their first game following a national championship, Michigan defeated Fresno State 30-10. Now, despite winning this game by 20 points, it was pretty close most of the way. Entering the half, Michigan only led by 7, and entering the fourth quarter, they had only a 10-point lead. Fresno State was hanging with Michigan all through this game. Davis Warren got the start at quarterback, and he was pretty underwhelming. He completed only 15 of 25 passes for 120 yards with a touchdown and an interception. I'm not quite certain how Michigan is going to look this year, but they're going to have quite the test next week as they host Texas. Making the jump all the way up to number 9 is USC. Now, I will say right now, I was wrong about this USC Trojans team. All offseason, I've been talking about how I think they're overrated, I don't think they're going to do well this year, and once they were ranked inside the top 25, I was really harsh on them. Personally, I thought LSU was going to blow them out of the water, but it just goes to show you never know what's going to happen in college football. Miller Moss looks like the real deal at quarterback as he threw for nearly 400 yards in this game, and he looked the part. But the most impressive takeaway from this game was USC's defense. They held LSU to only 20 points in this game, a team that was one of the best offenses in all of college football last year. USC has had one of the better offenses in all of college football since Lincoln Riley took over, but it's been their defense that has been their downfall. Well, if USC's defense is in fact legit, then I definitely think they can make a run in the Big Ten this year. Before we get to the rest of my rankings, I'd like to share with you guys how you can make the college football season more exciting and even win some money. I've partnered with Underdog Fantasy to bring you this amazing deal. If you download the Underdog Fantasy app and use promo code Harris, they'll match your first deposit up to $1,000. That's right, they're giving you up to $1,000 of free money. You can choose your favorite players from every game and decide whether or not they'll go higher or lower than their projections. So to add a little extra excitement to every game and win some money, make sure to use promo code Harris for a 100% deposit match up to $1,000 at Underdog Fantasy. You guys can also sign up using the link in my description as well. Probably one of the more impressive victories of the entire weekend was Miami going into the Swamp and completely dominating Florida, winning 41-17. Now, I'm not quite certain how good of a team Florida is going to be this year, but still, going into the Swamp and picking up a dominant victory like this isn't easy at all. Cam Ward is probably one of our early Heisman contenders this season, as he threw for just under 400 yards with 3 passing touchdowns. It's tough to get really excited after one game, but what a game this was for Miami, and I do think they are a potential threat in the playoff this year. Missouri began their season on Thursday with a very easy 51-0 victory over Murray State. It was a warm-up game for the Tigers, so nothing really else to add here. This may be a little harsh, but I have Oregon ranked at number 12. They did begin the season ranked number 3, but they struggled in their home opener against Idaho. This was a game in which Oregon was favored by 45 points, but yet it was a 3-point game in the 4th quarter. I get it, these kind of things happen, it's the first week of the season, but if you're Oregon and you have national championship aspirations, you should not be struggling at home against Idaho. Oklahoma State began their season with a 24-point victory over South Dakota State. Now, I know it's an FCS team, but South Dakota State was back-to-back FCS champions, and they were riding a 29-game winning streak. This wasn't just a slouch of a team, this was a really good opponent that Oklahoma State dominated from start to finish. Alan Bowman threw for just under 300 yards with 3 touchdowns, while Ollie Gordon ran for over 100 yards with 2 rushing scores. Utah kicked off their season on Thursday with a very comfortable 49-0 victory over Southern Utah. It was Cam Rising's first game after missing all of 2023. Well, he had quite the debut as he threw for 250 yards with 5 passing touchdowns. Tennessee began their season with a very nice 69-3 victory over Chattanooga. Nico Iamaleava had a great start to his season as he threw for over 300 yards with 3 passing touchdowns. Oklahoma had an easy game to begin their season as they took down Temple 51-3. Jackson Arnold, Oklahoma's new starting quarterback, threw for 140 yards with 4 passing touchdowns. I have LSU only dropping down to number 17 because they could have won this game. They tied it late in the 4th quarter, but ultimately USC scored at the very end. I thought Garrett Nussmeier played really well at quarterback as he threw for over 300 yards with 2 passing touchdowns. Overall, this LSU offense showed a lot of flashes, and their defense showed a lot of flashes as well. I mean, from start to finish, this looked like a legitimate playoff game, so no harm to LSU for dropping in this game at the very end. I just hope people aren't taking this loss as hard as Brian Kelly is.
And we're sitting here again. We're sitting here again talking about the same things.
Kansas State began their season with a 41-6 victory over UT Martin. Avery Johnson threw for 150 yards with 2 passing touchdowns, while DJ Giddens added 125 yards on the ground. Now, if you were up late watching this game, this was a pretty exciting back and forth matchup. Arizona ended up winning by 22 points, so it looks like they pretty much dominated, but New Mexico was hanging in this game. Now, we'll start with Arizona's offense because it was fantastic, and they're looking like they have one of the best offenses in all of college football this year. Noah Fafita, the guy I've been high on all offseason for the Heisman, well, he kicked off his 2024 season by throwing for 420 yards with 4 passing touchdowns. And he can thank probably the best wide receiver in all of college football for that line. Ted McMillan caught 10 passes for 300 yards and 4 receiving touchdowns. Now, Arizona's defense was a little shaky, but that's largely because New Mexico has one of the more underrated quarterbacks in all of college football. Quarterback Devin Dampier was throwing and running all over Arizona. He threw for 260 yards with 3 passing touchdowns while also running for 130 yards and 2 rushing scores. I mean, he almost single-handedly took down the Wildcats himself. So like I said, despite winning by 22 points and making this look like a comfortable victory, this game was anything but comfortable for Arizona. So shout out to New Mexico for hanging around as long as they did. Kansas began their season with a very easy 48-3 victory over Lindenwood. Jalen Daniels threw for 150 yards with a passing touchdown, while Devin Neal rushed for over 100 yards with 2 rushing scores. Iowa defeated Illinois State 40-0. Now, them holding their opponent to 0 points shouldn't be surprising at all. What should be surprising is the fact that Iowa scored 40 points in this game, especially considering they led 6-0 at the half. The Hawkeyes dropped 34 points in the second half. I couldn't tell you the last time Iowa scored 34 points in a game, let alone one half. I got Georgia Tech cracking my top 25. In week 0, they upset number 10 Florida State by 3 points. And yesterday, they defeated Georgia State 35-12. Now, I don't know how legit Georgia Tech's going to be this season, but they took down a top 10 team in their first game, and they took down a pretty solid Georgia State team by 23 points in their second game. Louisville began their season with a very easy 62-0 victory over Austin Peay. Tyler Shuck was great in his Louisville debut as he threw for 230 yards with 4 passing touchdowns. NC State was on upset watch in this game as they were tied with Western Carolina at the half, and they were trailing entering the fourth quarter, but they outscored them 21-0 in the fourth quarter and ultimately won by 17. Grayson McCall looked solid in his Wolfpack debut as he threw for over 300 yards with 3 passing touchdowns. We're going to wrap things up today with my final team inside my top 25, and well, because it is my top 25, I'm going to throw my Arizona State Sun Devils right in here. This is probably going to be the only time in 2024 I can have them as a top 25 team, so I'm going to fully take advantage of that. They defeated Wyoming 48-7. Now, considering they were only a 7-point favorites, the fact that they won by 41 points, well, that's a pretty big deal. When looking at every spread this weekend, the fact that they outperformed their spread by 34 points is one of the biggest in all of college football, so they're more than deserving to be in here. Sam Leavitt looked fantastic in his ASU debut as he threw for 260 yards with 2 passing touchdowns. I'm not expecting much from Arizona State this season. Hell, I'm not even expecting them to make a bowl game, but this was a fantastic win to open up their season, and they gave me a little bit of hope for 2024. Well, that wraps it up for my top 25 after week 1 of the college football season. What were your thoughts on today's top 25? Was there a team I had ranked too high or too low, or was there a team I didn't even include at all that should have been in here? Whoever it is, let me know in the comment section down below. Before you leave, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications if you're new to my channel. I'm posting college football videos every day during the season, so make sure to subscribe so you never miss a video. Also, don't forget to drop a like on this video as well. It helps out with that YouTube algorithm and helps share the video and my channel with more college football fans. Plus, it only takes a second to do. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.